All right, good afternoon, everyone. I know John may still be switching over the tech, but I saw that he just began recording. We are going to record the annual meeting separate, so for minutes purposes. But we do have our wonderful clerk Sarah on here to take minutes. So if we are in a good place to begin, I would like to call us to order. Oh, all right. We can wait just a second. All right. So, I got the confirmation from John that we are good to go tech-wise. John, would you be able to unpin the view of the sanctuary so that we can all see each other? Fabulous. Okay. And with that, we will call the annual meeting to order. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I know this is not how we would like to be gathering. I would much prefer to be gathering over some food and in person. That is, I think, how we best how our best work is done. But given there is absolutely no street parking, I appreciate you all making this shift online, and it is really wonderful to see you all here. I think we had a bit of an opening prayer in our entire service, so Ellen and I agreed we don't need to do that right now, but I do want to just thank you all for making this shift, for supporting me this year, and for helping us make it to the end. It was unexpected to get a bonus week as moderator, but I am looking forward to holding this annual meeting together and then moving forward. So the first, I don't have much else to say in opening remarks. But I will note that I don't have my big timer because we're not all in person, but I have my phone and I have an agenda with about how long I expect each item to take. So I'll do my best to keep us in line there. And the first thing is the approval of the January 2025 annual meeting minutes. So that would be last year. I'm just going to send a link to those in the chat, but they also were provided in the annual note or in the annual meeting materials. So you've had access to those materials if you wanted to review the minutes. If you want a moment to review them, you can. If not, we could have, if someone would like to motion to approve the minutes, we could do that.
Maggie,
Yes.
this is Lee.
Yes.
Hi. I would make a motion to approve the minutes with 3 minor changes.
Yes.
2 typos and 1 inclusion of the clerk's name at the end of the minutes. Who did a great job on those minutes. And I can give you, do you want me to give you now the 2 typos, or I can give it afterwards? We don't need to take the time.
If they were just typos, then you could just give them to me later and I'll input those in.
Exactly. And to include the clerk's name.
And I will include the clerk's name. These were John C's
In other words,
minutes.
I'd so move.
Yes. Okay. Do we have anyone to second that? Assuming that we will, yes, Margaret will second. Thank you. All in favor, and if you're on camera, you can raise your hand like that. That's how we'll vote. If you are not on camera, if you're able to do a reaction, a clap is fine, a thumbs up is fine, something okay. Anyone opposed? All right. So those minutes from the 2025 annual meeting have passed. We will make sure to put those typos in, Lee, thank you, and to add John's name at the bottom since he was the clerk at that time. All right, we are going to move right into the treasurer's report and the presentation of the 2026 budget by our wonderful treasurer, Don Marshall. If you're ready, Don.
Definitely not ready, but I'll do it anyway. So
We could switch and move to the board of trustees if you want.
no, I'm kidding. I'm fine.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to share there's the full details of the financial documents are in the packages that were sent around. And please let me know if you have any questions about those. I'm going to do more of an overview summary here. And go through this kind of just the highlights, and then feel free to ask questions or to follow up with me after the meeting if you have anything you'd like to discuss. So in terms of 2025, we had a good year. Our income was 5% higher than budgeted, and that was largely due to the fact that general contributions came in at 33,000 versus 18,000. Now, a decent portion of that was due to one member who was making automated payments but didn't pledge. And so when that happens, we cannot just assume that person wants to count those automated payments as their pledge. And we did reach out to the person several times and didn't get any confirmation there. So I say that in part because it is a message to all of you. If you have set up automated payments through our Vanco system, through our online system, you do still need to indicate to us during stewardship the amount you want to pledge. Even if it's the same and you're just continuing those automated payments, we need to know that in fact is your pledge and the amount that you intend to give. So thank you in advance for doing that. On the expense side of things for 2025, expenses were 4% higher than budgeted, and that was largely due to a couple things, and they all are in Serena's area, and as I think I've indicated in the past, Serena continues to be a big problem from a budget point of view. I'm joking, of course. I'm also on the Buildings and Grounds Committee, so I bear responsibility. But our repairs and maintenance budget was $24,000 versus $15,000 budgeted. That was, we had one very large expense that needed to get done, and we had discussed the possibility of using our contingency fund to pay for it. That's kind of why we have a contingency fund, is to address, sort of emergency or urgent repairs and things that need to get done to our building. But our cash position was high enough that we decided it wasn't worth pulling from investments, and we would just keep that in the budget. So it could have been handled off the budget, but again, we chose not to do that. The other big issue is utilities. Utilities the utility rates have gone up significantly. And obviously this winter, well, that's a whole nother thing in terms of what our utilities are going to be. But for 2025, they were 28% higher. So that contributed to our expenses. So the net position is that we finished the year with a deficit of just over 7,400. Now our budget anticipated a deficit of over 9,000. So again, that was good. Thanks to that higher income, we cut that expected deficit. In terms of other developments during the year, one of the things we worked on as a finance team was an update to our financial policies to bring clarity around contribution handling. And we all kind of know how, in terms of the finance team, how contributions should be handled, but there was never anything in writing. And I think that led to a little bit of confusion that was expressed at last year's annual meeting about how to handle various contributions. So the finance team put together a new contributions handling policy. We also consulted with the trustees to get their input on it. And then we have just finalized it, and we'll bring it to the council just for review. Financial policies don't need to be reviewed or approved by the council, I should say. But this is important enough. And again, we want to make sure everyone has buy-in and understands this policy. So we'll take it to the council at our next meeting. We also initiated a new gas contract, which we had done in the past, which locks in our gas rates. So that gives us some predictability, especially at these times of rising utility costs. And we continue to review and update our financial systems and processes. And that is largely through the amazing, fantastic, I can't say enough good words, work of John Tishy and Meg House, who are part of the finance team and do tremendous work. And John's always looking at how we operate and whether it can be improved. We look at, possibly switching to QuickBooks this year, but decided against it. But he is really always looking and working to improve stuff. So much appreciation to him. We also opened up a high yield savings account. We had this $90,000 for the capital campaign tithe. There's actually more like 87 or somewhere around there, 86, 87,000. And we thought that it shouldn't just be sitting earning no income. So we, because the campaign or the Mission Social Action Committee was not ready to spend it. So we put it in a high yield savings account, and it's earned us a few bucks. So that's good. And we may use that as another way to hold, as a sort of holding place when we have big expenses upcoming. So we don't want to put that money into investments, but we want to have it earn some money. And while we're on the subject of the capital campaign tithe, I mentioned that it was around 87,000 was the actual figure based on 10% of total income from the capital campaign. The council agreed to round that up to 90,000, and actually that difference will largely be made up by the income we made on putting the money into a higher yielding account. And we continue to have strong performance from our investments. Obviously, our investments are conservative, relatively conservative, but the market has been going up gangbusters for now, and so we have benefited from that. I'll pause for a moment and just see if there's any questions, if anyone wants to weigh in on any of the 2025 financial stuff that I've covered. I can't see everyone, so I don't know if...
I'm taking a look. And Dawn, would you be able to zoom in and make the text a little bigger? I know some of us can do that on our computers, but...
Oh God, should be better at this stuff, but is that better?
That's okay. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
We're all out of practice.
Yeah.
Any questions? You can either use the raise hand function in Zoom or physically raise your hand on the camera. I see all the people's faces. Don't see any questions right now.
Okay, great. We'll move on to 2026 budget. And is that viewable? Am I doing this right?
Viewable for me. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, so for 2026, we are anticipating total income of $433,000. That's about an 8.5% increase from what we budgeted for 2025, and a 3.1% increase from what we actually received in 2025. Big part of that is, of course, pledge income, and we are budgeting based on this stewardship campaign, $319,000 in pledge income. And our pledge goal for this year was $297,000. So we did really well. And thank you to everyone, because you all made that happen with your contributions. And we had a lot of new people contributing. We had a lot of people increasing their contributions, their pledges from previous years. And so it was great to see that sort of response to our campaign. And so again, thank you all for that. In terms of the notable incomes changes from 2025, the Kinderhouse rent is increased by $3,500. That's just an automated increase as part of their rental agreement. We've reduced facility use income by $5,000. We had one group that was that we don't expect to pay, but they have paid in past years, but have not paid the last year or two. So we're discounting that. So that's just one notable thing. And then our miscellaneous income we're increasing by 1,200, and that's anticipation of solar being installed and us being able to sell back some of our power and make a little bit of money there. I'm sure Mark will have more on that later. And then in terms of our total expenses, we're looking at just under 420,000. That's a 2.5% increase from 2025, but a decrease from the actual expenses in 2025. Notable changes. One of the sort of approach changes, policy changes that we agreed to in the council was we have been basing the mission budget, our essentially our tithe, so 10% of our total income on the budgeted income for the year we're budgeting. So for 2026, we would have based it on what we expect to get in income for 2026. But that what we expect to get for income is never what we actually get. So the number doesn't end up tracking exactly to being 10%. So what we decided to do is to use take that 10% based on the income from the last completed year. So that's what the figure will be from this point going forward. It's an actual figure. It's 10% of a certain amount of money that we actually received, not what we expect to receive. The council also agreed to give all staff a 3% COLA. Now, this year's Social Security COLA is 2.8%, and what we essentially decided to do is to round. If the COLA is ever below 3%, we will round it up to 3%. So there's a floor of 3% on what we give our staff each year. The council can certainly change that from year to year, but that's I think a great policy just to know that we're giving our staff 3% no matter what from year to year. We have a significant reduction in our insurance expenses with a new provider. Mark Turner and the the trustees researched and found a provider that could lower our costs while actually giving us a little bit better coverage. So that was terrific work by them and will save us some money. At the same time, our water and gas prices we know they're going up, so we've increased those. And we've also decreased our costs for solar or for electricity, assuming that solar gets done this year. And what we're hoping and expecting and we're holding Mark accountable for this. I don't think I've told you that, Mark, but that solar will be installed by April 1st. So we'll see about that. And then we need a new copier, so we've added that to the budget, and we have our children and youth are gonna have a training program, and that's gonna cost $2,000. But at the same time, when they complete the program, we'll get $1,000 in a grant from the people who put on the program. So those are the main highlights. This leaves us with a surplus.
Don,
Yeah.
this is Ellen. Can I just say very, very quickly, because I just want folks to know about, how we value our staff. So the reason that that's going to cost us an extra $2,000 is that both Marion and Grandin have agreed to be part of this cohort with this Lilly Foundation grant that we've received. And we don't want them to be donating unpaid time since they're on our staff. So that $2,000 is to pay for their time. And like Don said, we will also be receiving a $1,000 grant to do some things with children and youth in our congregation. Thanks so much, Don.
Yeah, thank you for shedding a little more light on that because I just breezed over it. But so the net position then we anticipate for 2026 is just under 14,000 surplus. So that in part makes up for the deficit we ran in 2025 and a little extra, which I'm guessing Serena will find a way to spend. So. So that's the summary for our 2026 budget. Any questions, discussion of that?
We owe Don a great debt of gratitude. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Okay, so no questions from anyone? Thank you. I want to say one more thing, and that is that we are transitioning a member of the team. Robert Glass has been our financial secretary for many years. I'm not sure how many, but longer than I've been secretary for sure. And
I believe a decade.
A decade. So it's been 10 years. Robert's stepping aside from that position. And as I've told him and others, Robert always was great, has been great at asking tough questions, at not shying away from raising difficult issues, from forcing us to have some good, honest conversations. And he's just also a terrific guy, and he will very much be missed on our finance team. Though he will obviously still be a close member of our community here. And so thank you to Robert, and he will very much be missed.
Don, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You said that we were going to go into the solar later in some detail. Is that part of the buildings and grounds report, or?
No, that's the trustees.
Okay, I'll wait.
So let me stop sharing there. So that's, yeah, the trustees will address that, I assume, as part of the report. But yeah, and there's an added note on the Robert piece. Eric Weaver has agreed to take over the role of financial secretary. He's been sort of a member of our finance team kind of casually, and he led a committee on fundraising last year, a discussion on fundraising. And that's another thing I should mention, actually. Eric and a couple other folks took on the task of looking at ways we can improve fundraising, and particularly at planned giving, at ways we can encourage people to think about Cleveland Park Congregational when they're putting together their wills, when they're putting together sort of end of life things, and making sure to keep in mind this community. So Eric is looking at kind of implementing some of those things this year, and also will be our new financial secretary. So thank you to Eric. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you so much. So thank you for that. I really do want to highlight the success of this year's stewardship campaign, and really thank the entire stewardship team, especially our incoming moderator, Melissa, for all the work that they did, and Dawn and Robert and all of the others who really put in that extra time. And I want to thank all of you who have pledged. This was really a very successful year, and knowing that we can go into the coming year with that stability makes a big difference.
Yeah, I would second that Melissa just kept us on target.
Yes.
And I mean,
I'm type A, Don.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that. I need it. I need that. So I'm sure she's going to do the same as moderator.
It was a team effort. Absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Would someone like to bring a motion for the 2026 budget to approve? Don, do you want to bring?
Yeah, I'll just make a motion to approve the 2026 budget as included in the materials that were sent to the congregation.
Does anyone want to second that? I see.
I second.
Oh, okay, Mark. Either one. All in favor? And you can show this, or you can show a reaction. All opposed? All right, the 2026 budget has been passed. Thank you so much. Righty, we will move right into the Board of Trustees update. That is where we'll hear a little bit more about solar. So Mark, I will turn it over to you and look forward to hearing all that the Board of Trustees has been up to. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I put myself on mute and forgot to unmute.
That
Can you
is
hear me
all
now?
right. Yes, we got it.
So these are your trustees. And I want to thank each and every one of them. They've kept me out of trouble and done great work, and really appreciate the congregations and everyone's support through the last year. So can you see the slides okay? Yes. Hope if you can
Yes.
see it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so these are the projects we worked on in 2025. One was, as Don mentioned, the church property and liability insurance, the free solar installation and flat roof repairs. That's the roof that's right over within the parlor and the kitchen. Addressing needed church capital repairs, the Trinity Trust grant, and then working with Kinder House, we do the usage agreements, and they're certainly our biggest one. So on the liability insurance, just real quick, our insurance premium costs were going up significantly every year. And in 2025, it was about to go up another 10%, and was going to cost us almost $20,000. And so what we could do quickly at the beginning of the year was to increase the deductible, which kind of muted that, but it was likely that the premiums were going to continue to rise. So we went through the Community Purchasing Alliance and worked with Brotherhood Mutual and was able to get insurance policy that basically reduced the insurance by about $7,000 annually. And we were able to reduce our deductible back down to $10,000 with similar coverage as what we had before. So we did that switch back in July of this past year. Any questions on that? The free solar installation, we had that discussion during our mid-year meeting, and the congregation approved moving forward with that proposal, which included taking care of the flat roof repair. Because it's the same company that would be doing both work, they gave us about a half price on the flat roof repair. So it's going to be $30,000 instead of $60,000. And we don't pay anything for the actual solar installation, but we benefit by the electricity that it generates, and as well as what we can sell back to Pepco. So the engineering assessment and all the drawings were completed in October, end of October, and they've submitted that to Pepco as well as the city for permitting. And they anticipate installation this quarter. So Don's holding me to April 1st. So I have this feeling I'm gonna have to call, just like with the ramp, the mayor's office, because I still haven't heard anything back from the city as far as the permit goes. So this is what happened over a year ago. Any questions on the solar installation?
I see Alan has a question. Go ahead, Alan.
If I remember correctly, the maintenance, we weren't going to have to pay to maintain the solar panels because they were going to get the income from Pepco, and yet Don reported a $1,200 income from the panels from selling the electricity back. So is it like split, or what's the deal? I thought we weren't going to get any income.
If the panels generate more electricity than what we consume, then we can get income back. We don't own these panels. It's like we're leasing the roof. And the way they're paying us for the lease is that we don't have to pay for our electricity. It's kind of how it works. They are responsible for all the maintenance because we don't own the panels. We don't, or the responsibility for, the maintenance. And they get the tax credits.
So they don't get any income from the panels, and we get that from the
They get so back when the Trump administration came in, and Congress passed, it was about a year ago now, uh, reversing the solar credits for individuals. So that has gone away. But the solar credits for companies and corporations remained. And so the government, they're getting paid through these credits and the electricity that's generated. So that's how it works. It's almost like magic on our end, but that's how it's set up. And right now, Congress has not changed anything. So that's all good.
Thank you, Alan, for that question. I just want to confirm that I see you have a hand raised, but I thought that was for the, okay, I thought that was for the vote as well. Layla, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I mean, I have solar panels as well, and it's two completely separate things. I sell the electricity back to Pepco, but I also sell, it's like a cap kind of, I'm selling credits. So they're two completely separate things.
Yeah, and the agreement for individual homeowners and then corporations, as it is in our case, is different too. So, okay, if there's no other questions on that, and you're certainly at the end of the presentation, I'd be glad to take any other questions too. So. The trustees are responsible for capital upgrades or capital projects. And there is overlap, as you can imagine, with buildings and grounds. So we need to work closely with them as well as finance. And so, but the capital up projects for future projects for the church, they're on the horizon that we need to pay attention to. One is the HVAC upgrade, so we can get off the steam boiler. Repointing of the east and west stonework on the outside of the church. The mortar in between the stones over the last 100 years has deteriorated, and over time you will have leaks through the mortar. And so the south side and the north side, the front of the church, have already been completed. That was done in the mid-2000s. But the east and west sides were never done. So it's 100-year orders. So that need to address. Window repairs, we have a bunch of issues with the wood as well as the metal windows. The flat roof repair I mentioned already, and the entry doors. So we've been looking for ways to mitigate these costs so that we don't have to necessarily have another capital campaign. And so the National Fund, we're going to be applying to the National Fund for Sacred Places for a grant to address some of these. And they offer capital grants of $50,000 to $500,000. It's a 1-to-1 match. And the applications are due on the 3rd of March. We've already started the application process, and we already completed pretty much. And thanks very much to Deb and Serena for doing the building assessment, which is one of the requirements. And the way this works is you get an initial notification where you were accepted in June. And certainly we'll have then an update at our mid-year meeting about that. And then you have a final notification in October, whether you were accepted or not. So if we are accepted, and depending on the amount, we have to raise an equal amount to the grant. So we can make a decision whether we want to do that or not. But it's a 50-50 grant. So more to follow on this. I just want to give people a heads up, but during the mid-year meeting would have certainly more information. Any questions on
Mark.
that one? Yes.
Yes. You said the minimum grant was 50,000. So
Correct.
you expect to spend you expect to spend 100,000 on this upgrade of the stonework?
Well, it's not just the stonework. So probably the first priority is our HVAC system and switching over from the boiler and getting on to like heat pumps, for example.
Okay, I misunderstood. I just thought it was for the stonework.
No, it's for everything except for the flat roof, because we need to pay for that before. But the others are all options. So.
And Mark, in the repair of the entry door, would that include making it accessible, like having a handicap, like a button that would open the door automatically?
Yes, so that structurally we'd have to do the repairs to that door. We over about a year ago, or a little over a year ago, to make that automatic door opener for that door would not be compatible right now structurally. We damaged the door over time. So yes, you need to repair the door first before you put that automatic door opener. And that's a yes. Quick answer is yes. So any other questions on that? I know that's a big mouthful to chew on, but we're just trying to mitigate the cost. And once again, but still we have these issues that are going to bite us if we're not careful. So we did apply to the Trinity Trust grant again this year, and we received $4,000. And Maggie, as you mentioned, that those grants are for the way we wrote that up is for accessibility, and so we got another $4,000 for that, and that'll be coming in this year. And there'll be a discussion about how to best use that. Some different ideas was making things more hearing accessible. And then the automatic door opener. Of course, we have to fix the doors first. And so the Kinder House agreement, just as a reminder, I think it's good because may not be familiar. Kinder House is a non-for-profit daycare that utilizes our basement, and their usage fee contributes about 19% to our operating budget. And they are currently fully enrolled and now are open year round. They used to take off August, but now they get to pay some of our utility bills in August, which is good because they're fully open now. And they also partnered to support the DC initiative for quality daycare, and they did lose some of their funding from the DC government because one of their members didn't pass the test, but they're reapplying for the test. So I anticipate they'll receive that funding again. They do have, and I want to give everybody a heads up about this, an outdoor classroom proposal, which the trustees about 2 years ago gave partial approval to move forward. The outdoor classroom would be on the west side, the yard space there. And our children could still use that space. It's not that you can't use the space, but it would have things in it like a small garden for the kids to raise different vegetables, a conservation garden to show native plants, a slide, sandbox, that kind of stuff. And we've been working very closely with them, Serena especially, and Mary Jane, to make sure this is all going to work. And we're not having to pay for this at all, but they would take responsibility for that yard because of this. And so that they may do, they have to have trustee approval to make any changes to the yard. And so that will be coming up on our agenda later this year.
Alan, I see your hand. I first want to raise Ben's question he put in the chat. Ben asked if the 2026 grant of the $4,000, if that counts as a portion of our matching fund for the Sacred Place matching grant, or if that is a separate amount. Like if you can count the grant as part of the funds raised.
Right. If it comes in after the application, we can. If we get the money before the confirmation of the application, you can't. So for example, I can't use the contingency fund or anything like that, or any donations that are made prior to the approval. This $4,000 is applied, I think, quarterly, so the last quarter one, probably, yes.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So it would be like a sort of a small capital campaign, because we would have to raise that money after, but we would only be raising half the amount of money that we think we would need.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Alan.
Mark, I have some quick questions about the Kinderhouse agreement.
Yes.
Am I correct in assuming that usage fees are separate from the rent?
No, it's the same. We're not supposed to call it rent.
Okay.
It's a usage fee.
So they're paying, I'm guessing, a flat percentage of that for electricity all year round?
Yes. So they, and Don's a better, well, I could go back to the lease and look at it, but basically they pay their proportion of the utilities is an estimate, and they pay that.
So that estimate was based on them being closed during the summer. If they're going to be open all summer long during the heat of the day, and we're not really there except for the church administrator, they would be actually using a lot greater percentage of the electricity. Could we somehow measure what they're using and then adjust that for the next year so they're paying the true amount based on the increased electrical use for air conditioning in the summer?
This arrangement is in the lease, and I apologize, I just can't remember the exact specifics. It's specified in the lease how it's calculated, though.
Well,
so,
Mark, I can tell you, it's just very simply 50-50.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember exactly.
Yeah.
And can I add something? So
Yep.
we use a lot more gas than they do in the wintertime because they are all electric. The only gas that they use is the water heater. So we sort of figured that even though they might be using more electricity for air conditioning in the summer, we're using more utility for the winter. So we just decided it's too difficult to try and figure out who's using more of what. So we just split it in half.
Yeah, I don't think we have the ability to look at our bill and say, like our electric bill, and say, this is our portion, this is their portion. So the easiest way to do it was just to go 50-50, and to quite frankly, that is in the contract we have, so it's not going to change.
If you did that estimate, it would just be pure guesswork because they don't have separate meters for down there. That's not separately measured.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Any ideas in some distant future of metering their electrical usage downstairs separate from ours?
Well, the only thing about the electricity, I'm hoping that we'll have solar panels, and our electric bill, it'll actually will go down to nothing or close to nothing. So that's and as Serena said, they only use gas from the hot water heater, which is negligible.
So can you hear me, Mark? This is Melissa,
Sure.
Maggie's shoulder. I want to thank Alan for raising that point because it's honestly probably something we've never had a reason to focus on, but it's an excellent point. And perhaps we can kind of take this offline and revisit at the appropriate time if there's another way to look at the energy usage once we have the solar panels up and running and we have a better sense of whether or not Kinderhouse's plan is actually going to move forward as well, because Kinderhouse is a wonderful partner, and sometimes their plans don't actually play out as their dreams initiate. But really, Alan, that's an excellent point, and thank you for weighing in, Mark, Don, and Serena.
I just want to say very quickly, and I know we want to move on, but Mark just indicated this, but it's actually it's going to work out in our benefit under this current arrangement, because once solar is covering almost all of our, or is covering all of our electric, our primary usage is going to be gas. We use more gas than them, but they'll be splitting it 50-50. So I think it's a good point to look at this, but the solar may just make the point moot. Anyway.
So this is our where we want to go with 2026, what we want to cover, but much appreciate feedback. If there are other issues that we need to address, then we'll do that. And so we'll, in the spring, we typically will, part of our process is to make sure about check on the insurance before we get hit with a big bill that we didn't expect. So we'll be following up on any insurance changes. Complete the free solar project that we talked about in the flat roof repair, complete the application for the National Fund, as we just talked about, and work with finance to help promote the planned giving, legacy giving. My dream would be that can help a lot instead of doing capital campaigns. And I'm hoping that works out. Work with Buildings and Grounds to complete a capital improvement budget. That's one of the best practices for trustees. We've never done that before, really, to have a capital improvement budget. So we space it out for future years, what we need to do and when, and work with B&G and finance about that, so we don't get blindsided. And then, and working with Kinderhouse, ongoing working with them about their agreement, as well as the outdoor classroom I mentioned. If there are other things that you all feel like we should tackle, feel free to shoot me an email, or one of us an email, or call me, or bring it up now.
Thank you so much, Mark, for this update.
Connor has a question.
So, well,
I'm not hearing. Can you all still hear me?
to the grid will offset the electricity that we will use when the panels aren't generating, like on a cloudy day or at night. Is that the plan?
So,
if I'm understanding it?
So when there's, when it's a cloudy day or night, then Pepco, we're still on the grid. And so Pepco is providing that energy. But there's some days where you're actually generating more energy than what you need, like on Wednesday, when no one's in, maybe not in the church, or it's just Kinderhouse. And so you're actually sending power to Pepco.
So on net, we're just not going to be paying electricity?
That's the hope. On average, over the year, yes, there's enough panels. Now, this all depends on the permitting too. They could come back to us and say, "Sorry, Charlie, we're not going to allow you to have this number of panels," or something. But
all right, thank you.
But we're hopeful.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the process.
Yeah, we're hoping.
Yeah.
That's the game plan.
Absolutely.
Well, finally, I just want to say thanks so much to Mary Jane Glass. She has been a trustee through the last capital campaign, helped us with all the work that went in the remodel down the basement, the HVAC system down the basement, and then the ramp. Even though, like me, she had some reservations, when the church voted, yes, we're going, it was full steam ahead, and Mary Jane was right there. And also with Kinder House, she helps because, well, she lives right next door, but that really helps having her present, working with Kinder House. And then she saved us probably about $20,000 on the whole landscaping after the ramp went in. It's a lot of volunteer effort too, but Mary Jane took that project on as well. And then just her ongoing efforts with landscaping, aside from being a trustee.
Did you pay her back that 20,000?
Yeah, there's a check coming. But anyway, I just can't say enough.
I'll pass all this along.
Thank you, Robert.
I just wanted to say that I'm so incredibly grateful to Mary Jane. And also, I'm not sure if Robert was on when we were singing his praises. So I just want to say again how grateful we are for Robert's decade of service as financial secretary. And though he can't see the comments in the chat, he was well lauded. So thank you, Mary Jane and Robert, for being such a dream team, and also for being such a patient next door neighbor, because I know that that's not always easy.
Well, I apologize for missing the first part of the meeting. Thank you. I do want to say that, if I may, it was just great working with Don and John and Meg. Meg just is a wonder, as are the others. But we had a great team. I'm going to miss it. But, 13 years, I think, is what it was. It's probably enough. So I got more out of it than I put into it, really. It's true. And whatever nice comments there were, thank you.
And I have to say one last thing. Normally we give a present, and Mary Jane promised that I would lose a body part if we gave her a present. So all the trustees are donating to the garden fund in appreciation of Mary Jane. So.
Yeah, and she was really touched by that, Mark. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Mark. And thank you, Robert. And thank you, everyone, and trustees. Yeah. Alrighty. So, Serena, are there any buildings and grounds updates that you'd like to provide in addition to what Mark has shared?
No, I originally thought I might want to, do a little bit of a rundown, but Mark, you were very thorough, and I don't think there's anything else that needs to be done. If anybody has any building and grounds concerns, please contact me, or if you want to get involved, please contact me. Always can use more people.
Absolutely. Alrighty, let's move. Next, I'd love to hear, so Sarah Dudley is our clerk, and she is also the head of the Assistance Fund Committee, and so she's going to share a brief update on what the Assistance Fund has been up to in the past year. Since we've voted as a congregation, you may not have heard what's been going on, so I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Thank you, and hi, everyone. So just for a little bit of background for anyone who's not familiar, in 2024, we launched the Assistance Fund, and it's an emergency assistance fund that's open to anyone to apply to provide emergency grants to folks who are in need, who live in our community. And in 2025, the fund distributed just over $14,600, and that was through 13 different emergency grants. The most common needs that folks were applying for were like individual single issues that were threatening their housing or their food security. And so these funds that our church provided, they kept families housed, provided food, covered utility payments, and also like helped folks rebuild after like a sudden hardship. One example that I'm thinking of specifically, we helped a single parent with a young child who had to leave her housing situation unexpectedly, and we provided funds for diapers, we provided a hotel stay, and different issues like that. Another example, we provided the funds to repair somebody's truck, and that individual uses her truck to deliver food to, I think it was over 100 families on the weekends, to provide food in the DMV to folks who aren't able to go out and get their own groceries. So that's just a couple examples of the great work that this assistance fund has been able to do. I also want to highlight how quickly the assistance fund is kind of making these changes. It's often when somebody applies, the committee discusses and like votes on the application within, I'd say usually within 24 hours or so. And then the funds are distributed and paid very, very quickly. And I want to give a big thank you to our assistant, I think it's assistant treasurer, John, for making these payments. More than once, he's even driven out to somebody's home or leasing office and hand delivered checks within 24 hours of receiving an email. So big thank you to John. And then my last little reminder is that the assistance fund is available to everyone, whether you are a member of the congregation or you have never even, or you have yet to join us or been affiliated with us in any way. So please continue to share the word about the assistance fund if you hear of anyone who might be in need. There's information on our website. We have the assistance fund email address. You can also reach out to just the general church, the phone. Everything will be routed to us. And lastly, these funds are all provided by direct donations from folks, and you're able to make a donation specifically to the assistance fund. So if you feel so called to contribute, you can certainly do that online or reach out to the church for more details. And all of those dollars that we raise for the assistance fund goes directly to our DMV community members. So yeah, that was just my little brief update on the fund, and let me know if you have any questions or interest in learning more.
Thank you, Sarah. And Ellen just said that she'll put the link to donate to the assistance fund in the chat. So keep an eye there. And yeah, thank you for all of your work on this. And I know Emily is part of that team, and the past moderator is also part of the team. So thank you, Lisa, for all of your work on that over the years. And thank you to John for making sure that those funds do get where they need to go, going above and beyond. Alrighty, up next, I'd love to hear, we are going to hear the Capital Campaign Tithe Committee give their update on the Capital Campaign Tithe.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself for a moment. So my name is Ashley Holst, and I'm representing the committee who has been working on our capital campaign mission component over the last several months. I hope that you may have had a few minutes over the last couple of weeks to review the brief summary that we shared. But today I just want to share a little bit about our process and then formally share our recommendation with the congregation. So as some of you may remember, many, many years ago at this point, when we initiated the Capital Campaign Project, we as a congregation decided that we wanted to maintain our mission tithe. And we've already heard this morning from Don that that ended up being $90,000. Around that time, we also had a number of coffee hour discussions. There was one in particular led by Lisa, where many members shared their ideas and thoughts about how we might spend this money. And the number one kind of theme that came out was that we realized as a congregation that we were not in a position to start a new organization or manage some big project on our own. And we really wanted to use these funds to strengthen local organizations that were working on topics that we cared about. So fast forward a few years, in May of 2025, our committee officially formed. I have the members listed here. Emily, Dick, Christina, Mary Jane, myself, and Pastor Ellen also participated as a non-voting member. We as a group decided that there were a few areas of impact that we wanted to prioritize for the mission component. Racial justice was very important to us given the audit we all did together over the last few years. So that was important across all the projects. And then 3 areas we were interested in supporting included support for immigrants and immigrants' rights, providing and supporting basic needs. And to us, that meant food security, housing security, and healthcare. And the 3rd area we wanted to focus on was employment and education. We received nominations for 11 different organizations to be funded through the capital campaign. And the committee went through a very detailed process of reviewing these 11 organizations, ultimately narrowing it down to 4 that we felt met these areas of impact and could benefit from these funds. We interviewed these 4 organizations and we invited 3 of them to formally submit an application. Why we used this process is because we did not want to overburden these organizations. We know it's a difficult time for many small nonprofits, and oftentimes grants, even small grants like these ones, ask a lot in the application process. So it was really important to us that we did not overburden them and we really were in community with these organizations while we went through this process. So ultimately, our recommendation to the congregation is to fund 3 small grants to these 3 organizations. You'll likely recognize the name of at least 2 of them, if not all 3 of them. They are very active in our DC community, and our congregation has been in community and participating with these organizations for many years in most cases. The first is Fresh Farm Market. If you have been to your local farmers market, you've probably seen this name. This organization locally provides matching funds for SNAP recipients for farmers market. So it both supports families and people who are utilizing SNAP benefits and need that assistance for food, but it also benefits our local food economy and local farmers who are selling in the market. Congregation Action Network, or CAN. You hopefully were able to hear about this organization recently. This organization is relatively new. However, it is within our religious community. They are supporting immigrants and immigrant rights, accompanying people who are experiencing encounters with ICE or maybe being detained. They are providing both faith counseling and support to those families, and also funds when possible. They have proposed our congregation to partner with them on trainings and some events over the course of the next year. So this would be a great opportunity for our congregation to get more involved. And finally, Jubilee Jobs. This one I'm certain all of you have heard before. We have been a partner of this organization for years. They are based in the Adams Morgan neighborhood and support employment and education for people in the DC area, mostly people of color, and many people who are formerly incarcerated can receive training, vocational training, and support to apply for jobs from this organization. They also do quite a bit of advocacy work here in DC to the employers to help make sure that employers like Giant and the Nats baseball stadium are working with them to help provide working opportunities and safe working opportunities for these folks. The grant that we are going to hopefully be giving them in particular will have an emphasis on certification trainings like food safe and IT training for job readiness for folks who are part of their program. So In conclusion, as you heard this morning from Don, we had $90,000. Ultimately, we are recommending to you as the congregation that each of these three organizations are worthy of these funds and can use them to better support this community across the themes I shared about. And so we're recommending each of them receive $30,000 to support the activities here. And if you're interested, in the memo that's in your packet, there's a little more information specifically about the activities and how they plan to use the $30,000. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions, but I am respectfully requesting that our congregation vote to approve this recommendation so that we may move forward with issuing these grants. Thank you.
Serena, question?
Not a question. I just want to commend this committee for doing this. It's a huge, huge job, and you obviously put a whole lot of thought into it. Thank you so much. But also, I just want to say how I really appreciate the approach that the committee and just our church has taken with respect to giving money to organizations and not requiring small nonprofits to put in a lot of work on filling out grant applications. Having raised money for the Shaw Community Center for so many years, it was pretty tough. There are other UCC churches in the Potomac Association that put us through an amazingly complicated, I shouldn't say complicated, but a lot of work into applying for the grant, and we ended up with like $1,500 a year. It was not worth the time to get that much money. So I do appreciate that, and I just wanted to put that out there so that the rest of the church, the rest of the congregation has a perspective on why it's, you guys have obviously put a lot of thought into it. There's no reason, as long as we have a continuing relationship with these organizations, there's no reason to put them through the ringer on the front end.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Serena, and thank you to the whole committee for your work on this. Are there any other questions before I heard that motion to approve this. Are there any other questions before we move towards the vote? Yes, Connor?
Yeah. If I'm this is just for my own edification. If I'm understanding this correctly, the Finance Committee budgeted $90,000 to Social Action Committee, and that if we vote to pass this, then we will still maintain that surplus. Is that right?
Yeah, this is 10% of the income raised during the capital campaign, which was a years-long process to raise money for the ramp. And as part of our church's mission, we decided to take 10% of that, which was $90,000.
It doesn't come out of our budget.
And it doesn't. Yeah, it's not from our operating budget. This is something that we had set aside for this campaign tithe. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Those clarifying questions are important.
Yeah, very important question.
Yeah, not everyone's been here through the whole slog.
Yes, yes.
We forget that sometimes.
Any other questions or things to note? All right, does anyone have, I heard Ashley had motioned to approve these 30,000 grant recommendation, the $30,000 to each of these organizations. Does anyone, I see John Tishy has seconded. All right, all in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, the motion has passed. Thank you so much to the entire committee for your work on this. I'm really, really excited to see. I'm really excited that these three organizations are going to get this much needed funding, and I'm really proud of the work that the team has done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggie.
Yay! All right, that has passed. The next item on our agenda was going to be a big chunk of our meeting, but because we are online, we are really going to be just sharing the recommendation, and then I am going to be sharing what will be happening next, our next steps, and a little bit of a reflection on why we are shifting. But the next thing on our agenda is the Apartheid-Free DC Pledge proposal, which has been recommended by the Mission and Social Action Committee. So they are going to share the proposal, they're going to share their recommendation, and then because this is an issue that really deserves in-person conversation and vote and process, we aren't going to move further on that today, but we do have plans for what will be happening next, and I will share those plans after we hear from the committee. I believe Dava is going to present. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Thank
All
you.
right, so I'm going to hand it over to Dava. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. I have a couple of slides as well. Let's see. Just done. Okay, wait a second. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it now.
Great. And let me make that bigger. Let's see, I get rid of that. Okay. Well, thank you. Yes, I'm Dava Kivney, and I'm happy to represent the committee, the Mission and Social Action Committee, in sharing this recommendation to take the apartheid-free DC communities pledge. So there's been a lot of discussion about, sort of about this topic and what's happening in Palestine. I'm not going to get into a lot of that. In the interest of time, what I wanted to do is basically just read for the record the preamble and the pledge. The preamble being something that we attach to the pledge, and I believe it was written either entirely or mostly by Pastor Ellen. So we thank you for that. And then to discuss a little bit, very briefly, about our reasons for making this recommendation and some perspectives that we hope people will consider going forward as this conversation moves forward. So first, I'll read the preamble. As Christians, we are part of a tradition that has too often persecuted people of other religions, including Judaism and Islam. As Americans, we are citizens of a nation that has too often used its financial and military might to oppress minority and marginalized peoples, including Palestinians. As a congregation, we acknowledge our complicity in these harms and choose to ally with those who, like Jesus, speak out on behalf of the least of these, believe it is possible to beat swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks, and work toward a future where justice will roll down like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Okay, and this is the pledge itself. We affirm our commitment to freedom, justice, and equality for the Palestinian people, the people of DC, and all people around the world. We oppose all forms of racism, bigotry, discrimination, and oppression. We declare ourselves an apartheid-free community, and to that end, we pledge to join others across the city to be a safe space for all people in DC seeking justice for all, and to end all support to Israel's apartheid, settler colonialism, and military occupation and genocide of Palestine. Okay. So how do I, okay. It's not letting me go forward. Okay, there it goes. So here's a few things about why we're making this recommendation. Firstly, it is actually highly aligned with our congregation's values, obviously. And secondly, this is sort of amplification of an oppressed people's voice and lending our voice to theirs. In the presentation 2 weeks ago, from Gail Burniford, she had one of her slides was things we can do to help, and amplification was right there among them as one of the important things that we can do to bring attention to what's going on and in principle help to stop it. It is also a direct action that follows from the 2025 General Synod Declaration for an end to genocide in Palestine. And it's also the case that the National UCC is a founding member of the National Apartheid-Free Communities organization and has signed on to the National Pledge as well. So, and then let's see. So our understanding is that we're going to be continuing this discussion in a formal way in a few weeks, hopefully informally over the coming weeks as well. And so I wanted to share a few perspectives that I hope people will consider as this conversation goes forward. The first is I know that there are potentially concerns about us taking a controversial position. To me, this does not seem like a highly controversial position for our congregation to take. It's basically opposition to apartheid and genocide. 1,000 other organizations have signed on to the national pledge, so I don't think that we're getting out ahead of a lot of people, and including actually two really good examples. The Covenant Baptist has signed on, and our own national organization has signed on. So Palestinians are asking for the world to speak up about this. So this is something that we're actually being asked to do. And when the affected people are asking for it, I think that carries some weight. On the third point, it is true that we're being bombarded with all kinds of things going on, and I know that it's difficult to keep up with everything, especially with ICE terrorizing communities within our own country. I want to point out that all these issues are actually very interconnected. ICE has received training from the IDF, and we're seeing them apply that training to us, actually. So in a way, this is that what's happening within our own communities is our imperialist chickens coming home to roost, if you will. And yes, we should oppose that directly. And nothing in this pledge prevents us from doing that. But also, we should be opposing the fundamental causes of this. So, so speaking out about our original, imperialistic urges, I guess, is part of that. So, and finally, I don't believe that there's going to be any reward down the road for us not doing this, for being silent about this. I think, to borrow yet another concept from Dr. King, I think that the only people who are going to remember us for being silent about this are the people who are asking for our voice now. So with that, I appreciate your attention, and my understanding is that there is going to be a more formal conversation and a vote in a few weeks. In the ensuing time, we certainly encourage and welcome any engagement with people who want to discuss this, more direct engagement. So thank you very much, and I will stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Dava, for sharing this and for providing a little bit of additional insight into some viewpoints that we can take moving forward, and for reading the preamble and the pledge itself, so we can be grounded in what the Mission and Social Action Committee has voted to recommend. Now, I know that ideally we would have had this discussion and vote last week. That did not happen. Ideally, we could have had it today. I do think this is an issue that deserves an in-person process, and I've met with the leadership team about that as well, and they're in agreement. I've also heard from some people in the last few weeks wishing that we had more time for dialogue. And the Mission and Social Action Committee did such a great job sharing so much information. And I feel that as a congregation, at least personally, I have been way more educated on this issue than I was at the beginning of this process. And so I really thank you for all of that. I especially appreciated all that I learned during that coffee hour conversation 2 weeks ago. So what I heard, though, from many congregants was a wish for more time to talk. And so our hope is that because we have to reschedule this anyways, February is a little booked for us right now. But we were hoping that, and don't mark your calendars yet because we still are confirming things. But right now the plan is that on March 8th, we will have, during the coffee hour, we will have a dialogue. We're going to bring, a TBD. Early March, hopefully, we will have a conversation facilitated ideally by an outside facilitator who can help us have this conversation, really share what we're each bringing to this, and what our concerns are, what we feel about the pledge, whether you're for, whether you're against, whether you really are torn or don't even know, or just to ask questions. And then hopefully by the end of March, we're thinking maybe March 22nd, but we don't. Again, we're still finalizing the dates as a leadership team. We will right after the service hold a vote. If you're not able to make the service where we have the vote, we will have an option for voting by proxy, like we were going to for the annual meeting. And it won't probably take too long, since we will have had that dialogue, and then we can just gather and really hear the recommendation one more time and then vote. And I recognize this isn't a perfect process. I think reflecting as a moderator, I could have done more to provide those opportunities for dialogue, and could have taken that. And so I really appreciate that feedback. So that we're not putting something on to our brand new moderator, I will, even though I won't be moderator anymore, I will be the one to facilitate that discussion.
See her halo? See her halo?
I will be the one to facilitate the vote in March, and will support the leadership team in scheduling that discussion. I know this is a really important issue for a lot of people, myself included. I know many of us, many people have shared how important this is to them. I just, so I want to thank you as the Mission and Social Action Committee for bringing this. I want to thank the congregation for talking about it with me and with others, and for being willing to engage in this process, especially since it has not exactly gone the way we had hoped, mostly because of weather. But I hope that giving a little more time will also provide us some more. We'll make sure that everyone feels that they've had a chance to make their voices heard. I do want to offer a space to share any questions about the process. I know we've heard a lot of people have already been able to share their thoughts, but if we could save your thoughts on the pledge itself for maybe the dialogue and the vote itself. But if you have any questions or thoughts on the process, I'd be happy to hear them. Did I see a hand raised? Is that from a previous vote, or is that about this? No? Okay. Emily said that if you want additional resources about the connection between ICE and the Israeli military currently, please let her know. Any other questions about the way that this process is going? Yes.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to echo what Maggie said about, having this additional opportunity to hear one another. I very much appreciate those of you who have reached out to me. In a perfect world, we would feel comfortable reaching out to all of each other in community. And I also know that, this is a difficult issue for some. And, as I said to Emily recently, one of the differences between a justice organization, a secular justice organization, and a congregation is that we do have a pastor. And, so I hope that my pastoral presence has actually been helpful to some people who have wanted someone to talk with. I hope that I have been able to hear you. And that's kind of what I want more of for one another, because what I realized from those of you who did come to talk with me, and I'm grateful for, your courage and your vulnerability. The people who did come to talk with me, I realized that, we've had such excellent presentations and such great educational materials. And it just seemed to me like having a little more time to actually dialogue with one another and really hear where we're coming from would be important for sort of the health of our congregation moving forward. So I'm grateful to you for your patience. I'm especially grateful to the Mission and Social Action Committee for their patience and all of their hard work on this. And I do trust that, Spirit will move and guide us, and that, we will be called as we are called. And I just am thankful to all of you for being a part of it.
Thank you, Ellen. All right. On that, and I do want to say personally, the dialogue that I've had with the leadership team and the others in the past couple weeks has been really valuable for me, even though it hasn't changed how I plan to vote on the pledge, but it has helped me better understand where everyone's coming from. So I'm really hoping that that's what the dialogue can do, not as like a, can we convince, can one side convince the other? I want it to like, even if it, right, because we're all on this, like, yeah, we're all on the same team as Melissa said, and I don't want it to be like it's not a debate. It's I want to know where everyone's coming from and how people are feeling. And I think that will help, even if it does not change how you plan to vote. So thank you, everyone, for your patience with me and with with the leadership team and this whole process. I would like now to move to the pastor's report. Ellen, is there anything you would like to share?
Since I have an ample pulpit, typically, I really just want to take my time for a few thank yous. But first, I just want to take a moment and honor the memory of John C., who was our beloved congregation member, the clerk of our congregation, and just an all-around great guy. And he died too soon last July, and I know we miss him. So may you rest in peace and power, John. You all are such an amazing congregation. You continue to astound me by your passion, your commitment, your willingness to engage, your willingness to communicate. And I just want you to know how grateful I am for you. I also want to say, that I'm so thankful for our lay leadership, and I am going to read just the last two short paragraphs of my pastor's report because it's all about thank yous. But before I do, I also want to say that, getting involved in a committee or one of our, small adult groups like, poetry group or faith life or, Bible group, book group, etc., choir, those are such great ways to get to know better members of the congregation. Because even in a smaller sized congregation like ours, it's hard to get to know people as well if you're just, and I'm not that anyone should feel bad about this, but if you're only coming to worship, and even if you're at coffee hour, for many of us, that can be a challenging time to try to connect with people. So, if you would like to get to know some of our congregants better, just becoming, part of one of those smaller groups or committees is a great way to do it. And, just feel free to reach out to Maggie or Melissa or me if you want help doing that. All right, I'm just going to very quickly read my gratitudes. I'm grateful to work with a wonderful part-time staff. Meg House is our fabulous church administrator. Our music program is blessed with the talent of music director Harold Walbert, accompanist Dan Stokes, and choral associates Esther Tonia and Dash Waterbury. Our children and youth program is led by our delightful Sunday school coordinator, Marianne Cooper, and teen group leader, Grandin Purnell, and Aaron Randolph, our custodian, faithfully keeps our church clean. Finally, I'm so thankful for the many lay leaders and volunteers who contribute to making our church the vibrant and loving community it is. I wish everyone could have my bird's eye view to see all the ways people contribute to the life of our community, from creating the beautiful fabric bulletin board in the parlor, to preparing for and performing benefit concerts, to depositing the checks and managing the budget, to visiting and driving fellow congregation members, to advocating for those in need, to assisting with the Christmas pageant, to overseeing the installation of solar panels, to making sure we have coffee hour each week. You do an amazing job of nurturing love of God and neighbor in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Ellen. Oh, I'm hearing.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yes. Thank you, Ellen. And on that note, are you able to mute Ellen?
Sorry.
There we go. And on that note, Don Blanchin, the chair of the Clergy Congregations Relation Committee, always struggle with that name, reached out to me and wanted to make sure that we really just thank you, Ellen, for your leadership this year and all of the hard work that you do. We know you're juggling a lot of plates, and there's a lot of unseen work that goes into this job, and we're so grateful for your leadership and your guidance. The committee asked me to pass along this a little gift card to a local restaurant, so I do want to give you that. That is from the committee, but the thank you is from, I think, the whole congregation. I think we just really want to uplift all the work that you do. I know it is sometimes a thankless job, so we wanted to make sure that we do the thanking right now. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pastor. Yes.
All right, I'm doing my hearts with effect, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, there's a lot of moving parts with making sure to unmute without getting the echoes, but we've got it. Okay, we're nearing the end of our meeting, so thank you for your patience. I want to. Sorry? Oh, yes, Catherine wants to say one thing.
You are muted.
So I just, we're planning a great big thank you to Dorothy in 2 weeks, but I think it's probably a good idea to go on the record for this year's annual report, how much Dorothy has been giving to us for all these decades and how very, very much we will miss her and that. And, you know, somebody mentioned how much Mary Jane had saved us in the budget. I cannot imagine trying to add up the amount that our budget has benefited from Dorothy's many, many forms of donation of her time and talent. And, I remember when she walked into this church so many years ago, and it seems like every time she's here, I realize more how creative she is. So let's just put that on the record. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I know Dorothy can't actually be here today, but we do want it on the record. And I hope you all have taken a look at some information that was sent out earlier this week, Thursday, about writing a little letter for her by Wednesday, sending it to Julie Maynor. The information is in that email from Thursday. And then we look forward to celebrating her on the 15th. And that is leading into my thank yous. So we've already given a lot of thanks and praise to Robert and Mary Jane for all of their service. We have to uplift all that Dorothy does. I mean, if I started listing, there's the book club, there's bridge, there's music, there's the cake. We can't possibly list them all, but the cake really will get me. And I also want to give a thank you to Christina Chauvenet, who's not here today, but she will be rotating off as the fellowship chair, and a thank you to Lisa, who stepped in last minute to serve as moderator for a second time 2 years ago, and now today is finishing her term as past moderator, which means she will be finally off of the leadership team and finally free of these responsibilities that she so graciously accepted to put back on her plate a few years ago. So thank you to Dorothy and Robert and Mary Jane and Lisa and Christina for all that you have done. Lay leadership is not an easy task. It's not an easy responsibility. And I want to also thank some people who have agreed to step up. So as Dorothy will stay on to support the music committee until she leaves. But Catherine Stevens has agreed to chair the music committee, so we are so grateful for that. As noted before, Eric Weaver has agreed to step up as financial secretary, so we're really excited for his work there. We have Dit Talley, who has agreed to serve as our vice moderator, although he will be careful to note, as long as the congregation approves. These are very contentious elections here. But we are really excited for his leadership. And yes, and Paul Newport and Andy Wold have agreed to serve as fellowship chair with the sort of guidance of Mary Jane, who's agreed to mentor them this year. So we're really grateful for all those who are joining lay leadership, those who are continuing on, and thankful for the service for those who are ready to move on. So can I say thank you even more times? I don't know, but the moral is we are grateful. All right, and with that, I do want to share the slate of candidates for the elected positions, which, yes, as for our nomination and election for officers for 2026. So I am able to screen share just so that we all have the view. Where did that go? This is in your meeting packet, but here is the slate of candidates for the 2026 elected positions. As I noted, some changes include Melissa Laughlin as vice moderator, Dit Talley, or as moderator, not vice moderator anymore, Dit Talley as vice moderator, Eric Weaver as financial secretary, Catherine Stevens as music chair, Paul Newport and Andy Vold as fellowship chair, and Bruce Grimes coming on to the Board of Trustees. And there is our full list of lay leadership. I'm going to stop sharing now so that I can see everyone for this. Can someone please bring a motion to approve the slate of 2026 leaders? I see Serena is bringing the motion. Can I have anyone to second?
Second.
Okay,
Lee.
Mark or Lee will second. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, and with that, we have elected our new slate of leadership for 2026. Yay! 1 week late, but we have done it. I am so grateful for the chance to have served as moderator this year. It has been such a learning curve and such a, it was so scary and then not so scary by the end. So I'm just very grateful for all that, all the support that I've had this year. It's been really a wonderful journey. So, yeah.
Hi. Usually we'd be up front together, but instead I'm just, photo bombing Maggie's screen. It is the tradition of this congregation to gratefully present the outgoing moderator with a gift. And so Melissa brought these beautiful, beautiful roses for Maggie, which she'll be taking home. And the council has chipped in to get Maggie 2 gift certificates to 2 places that she very much enjoys patronizing, Cactus Cantina and Politics and Prose. And my plan was to get the entire council to sign this card, but since we haven't been together, I wrote it in the name of the council and the congregation. So thank you for your wonderful year.
Yay! And I guess you'll see me again in March when we do, I'm not totally done. So,
True.
And I'll be around, but I thank you, everyone. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Melissa for some closing remarks before we adjourn.
And I have a really long list of things I want to say. So I do want to say thank you again, Maggie, especially for the way you have soldiered on in the past month as there was light at the end of your tunnel. And you've just continued to handle some pretty thorny situations with tremendous grace. And I thank you very much. We've already said a lot of thank yous. I do want to give a special call out. We have here gathered around the table in the parlor, because I hate when we're sort of half in and half out. We have Connor with us, Pastor Ellen, Catherine Stevens, Stella, and Maggie and I. And my husband, John, is up in the balcony doing tech support. Yay, John. So just want to give a shout out to all of you for hanging on in person and online. Annual meetings are challenging, whatever format they take, but hybrid, we've had to spin a lot of plates. There are so many needs right now. We've talked about that. We've heard about many. They're in our midst. They're in our city. They're in our country. They're in the world. I am so grateful for this community to work on trying to meet those needs. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Stella has motioned. All right, a second?
Second.
All right, Lee, thank you. All in favor? Okay. Opposed? All righty, thank you, everyone. We have adjourned.
See you all soon in person.
We will see you soon in person. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Maggie, I'm going to send you an email with the corrections. Okay.
Thank you. Perfect.
Sure.
We'll get those.
Yep.
Yes, thanks.